What is up, everybody? Chris of Midlife Crisis Media here. Welcome to another recent pickups live stream. This is everything I've added to my physical media collection during the month of November 2024. So last month was not a very big month, I didn't have a lot of money to spend on the collection. So, didn't get a lot of things to talk about by the end of the month. So to this month, on the other hand, completely different situation. So this is November, which means Thanksgiving, which means Black Friday. And back in the day, Black Friday was literally just Friday. Now it's basically the entire month of November. And at the start of the month, I got some like pre-ordery things that I had, ordered months ago. They finally showed up this month. Was hoping some other things would show up by yesterday. It did not happen, so they're gonna have to be saved for the December stream. But have a lot of Black Friday pickups. Been buying stuff since the beginning of the month. Found some deals. Went out doing some deals. Got some stuff from online. And then yesterday, drove up to Wisconsin, to Milwaukee. Met up with my buddy Rocket Sauce from the Cartridge Club and TJ Kitsune and his girlfriend. And we all drove all over Wisconsin looking for Black Friday deals at all the game stores in the area. We went to Game Trade, Press Start, Gaming Together, The Pad, and I found some great stuff. Went a little crazy, but you know me. But luckily, it was one of those months where I actually had an extra paycheck to mess around with. Fell in between the one that I would use for my rent and the one that I would use for bills, and just I could do whatever I wanted with it. So I decided to save it up and use it while shopping. And oh, did I? If you saw my pickups picture that I post all over social media that I posted this morning, you know what I'm talking about. So, and last month, even though I didn't have a whole lot to talk about, it was mostly movies and a few video games. Like I said, did not have money to be spending on video games at all. This month, it's reversed. This month, it's a few movies and a ton of video games and some extra stuff. So let's get into it because I have a lot of ground to cover. We'll start off with the non-gaming and non-movie related stuff, just like the general pit stuff that I've gotten. And most of well, actually, all of these are gifts. So my birthday was back in August. Have not gotten together with any of my little group of friends together since probably July. I want to say I've seen them separately, but never together. And they ended up like saying like, hey, this is all the stuff that we had gotten you as a gift for your birthday. You know, we'll just give it to you now. I'm like, okay, all right, cool. Not necessary, but awesome. And got a couple of gift cards, which I promptly spent and is mixed in here. And also I got some funny stuff. But first, yesterday, when I went out with Rocket Sauce and TJ in Wisconsin, when we were finishing up for the day, Rocket Sauce says to me, like, oh, yeah, you're a big Star Trek fan, right? Well, I picked this thing up randomly at a Goodwill. Would you be interested in it? And I was like, yes, if it's Star Trek related, I'll take it. And this thing is old, super old, and it is still in fantastic shape. I don't think it's ever been used, but it, like I said, it looks like it's brand new. And this thing is from 1984. And that is this Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock glass that came from Taco Bell in 1984. I guess Taco Bell, well, obviously Taco Bell did a promotion with Paramount for Star Trek 3 because Star Trek 2 was such a big hit. And it was kind of funny. I saw some video on it where when Star Trek the Motion Picture came out, there was this marketing blitz when it came to like toys because everyone wanted to make Star Wars toy money. So they made all this Star Trek stuff toy-wise for the motion picture, and none of it sold. So when Star Trek 2 comes out, which would have been the one that deserved the toys, you could have had ships and all that stuff to do space battles. They didn't make any because of how badly Star Trek, the motion pictures toys sold. So when companies realized that they had missed out on Star Trek 2 when Part 3 came out, they all jumped on it, and the same exact thing happened with Part 1. So yeah, Taco Bell did some kind of a deal with Paramount, and yeah, you can see the 3 stages of Spock from the film when he's aging with the planet, and it also has a picture of his torpedo/coffin from the end of Star Trek 2, and it says, Spock lives. Through the wonders of the Genesis effect, the lifeless body of Captain Spock evolves from an infant to a grown man in a matter of days. And it just says Spock lives. So when he handed me this and it was in this good condition, I was like, damn, like that's awesome. So I'm glad he passed that on to me. And he also gave me another gift, which I'll be showing off a little bit later. And then when I got together with my friends at the beginning of the month, and we, you know, they were like, oh, here's all the stuff that we meant to give you back in August, but since we never got together, we didn't get a chance to give it to you until now. So all of this stuff, except for one thing, came from Gen Con. Almost said Dragon Con. Gen Con, which is the card game, board game, tabletop gaming convention that happens in August. and my friends go there every year. I used to go. I don't go anymore. And they picked up all this like stuff, which apparently was just free. Like certain vendors or like companies were just handing this stuff out to kind of get attention, to make you possibly buy stuff from their booth. And a lot of it is Dungeons and Dragons related. Well, all of it is Dungeons and Dragons related. So one thing they gave me is this ready to play mini adventure. So it's basically a little mini campaign called Curse of the Dread Marsh Crew, and it has all the information you need if you're the dungeon master. What you need to run the campaign. It also has the enemies and also some maps to use. So you'd cut these out and use these during combat, which is awesome. And I don't know if I would run this actual physical campaign, but I would definitely use ideas from it if I felt the need, which is awesome. And there's another one called DCC RPG. It's a free quick start rules covering levels 0 through 11. So I don't know if this uses D&D 5e rules or not. Maybe it's a new rule set. I don't know. But character classes, thief, elf, tech roll. Yeah, it's basically a basic player's handbook, which is cool because I could get some ideas from this as well. And then the last thing they picked up from Gen Con was these, like, what do they call them? Terrain, like for when you're having a fight, a battle. These are all marked with the grid patterns, as you can see. And it's just a whole bunch of different environments and some extra things to cut out, which could be things in the environment, like some mushrooms and some plants. So it's like a stack of this stuff. And the thing was, since I had to update my Mac recently at the beginning of the month, I talked about it, I think, in one of the film collection streams, that my Mac, I haven't updated it since I bought it because the programs that I had installed on it would not work past the previous operating system that the computer came with. So I never updated it. Well, no one is really using that operating system anymore. Like nothing is compatible with it anymore. So everything started to break down. So like I couldn't even get into my Yahoo Mail because Yahoo just stopped supporting it. So whenever I'd go there, I'd be like, your browser is not supporting, or we don't support that browser you're using. So log on somewhere else. So I had no choice. I had to update it, and I basically lost all of my programs. So I was using Photoshop for our combat when I would stream my D&D games. And now that I don't have Photoshop anymore, I reverted back to using miniatures and like terrain and stuff. So this was given to me at the perfect time because a lot of the stuff we're doing is taking place on a boat. So luckily they gave me stuff for use on a boat, which was absolutely perfect. And then the following week, I was given a hint on how to use a specific program that was similar to using Photoshop for what I was doing earlier. And now these are obsolete. But if the problem ever comes back, I have all this stuff to use, which is fantastic. Now, and there's one other thing. I guess you can buy these at gaming stores. It's a deck of stories NPC packs that they picked up at the convention. And basically, it's like a pack of cards that have random NPCs that if your party decides to like pull something that you haven't planned for and you have to have characters for them to talk to, you just pull a character from this deck. And so like here's a half orc named Silger Silvertooth, and it gives you like personality traits and everything you would need, like flaws, goals, his secret, his quirks, for you to role play that person, which is great because my party tends to do that quite a bit. Like throw me a curveball that I did not, anticipate, and all of a sudden I have to come up with new characters for them to interact with, on the fly. This is a perfect tool for me. I might just buy a whole box of these damn things, which is awesome. So that was very welcome as well. And then like the thing that they bought for me, since I talked about this in last month's, was it last month? August. It was August's pickup stream that I like to cook because I had shown off that Dungeons and Dragons cookbook that I had bought. And they bought me this Snoop Dogg Goon with the Spoon cookbook that's from Snoop Dogg and Earl E. Stevens. And we were looking through this at the party or the little get together that we had. And some of the names of these things, these recipes are like what? Wake and bake meat omelet, roll it up Rito. Everything's like pot themed, but there's no pot in any of this stuff. French onion just dipping. Jalapeno poppers, Scotch eggs, air fryer honey walnut shrimp, which I will not be making because it has mayonnaise in it, and mayonnaise is disgusting. Bunch of drinks, a Cali sangria, 19 crime spritzer, Pimp's Cup. And we were like cracking up at the names they gave these things, but I will be completely honest, the Wiggle fruit squares, like I was going, I will probably make 90% of the things in this book because everything looked awesome. So that cracked me up and gave me ideas for cooking things. So how's everybody doing tonight? I normally would have done this last night because that was the last day of November, but I was out with Rocket Sauce and TJ game hunting, so didn't get a chance to, so I decided to do it tonight. So let's get into the flicks. So, like I said, compared to the video games, I do not have a lot of movies to talk about, but I got some quality stuff, and I'm going to start organizing these a little bit differently from now on because I kind of reorganized the movies on my media center because I realized I had a ton of steel books, and I was like, they take up a little bit more space than normal, so I kind of like put them out in a separate area away from everything else. So I have like the standard things that I have picked up, the standard 4Ks, then the boutique stuff, the steel books, and the box sets. No Blu-rays this month. It's all 4K. So we'll start off with, I decided to pick these up because I got a documentary that I backed financially in the mail. Finally, I do believe last month. I talked about it in last month's stream. Or sorry, it's not last month anymore. It's October's stream. And I watched it, and it kind of made me re-interested in the franchise. So I was like, the reason I was avoiding buying these two movies, which are both available on 4K, was I already have a box set on Blu-ray with the 4 main films in this series in it, plus their alternate cuts. So I was like, I don't need to buy these in 4K. I'll just wait for like a big box set of all these 4Ks to come out. Well, there's no guarantee that's ever going to happen now the way things are kind of going with films. And, Disney is not making, or Disney owns these now, or this franchise. They don't seem to be interested in putting out anything else on 4K, on home media, on physical media. So Sony has bought the rights to distribute their titles now. And there's no guarantee that they're ever going to get Jeez, I can't talk. There's no guarantee they're ever going to get to releasing the other movies in this series. So I'm like, just buy them now. And if they do release a big box set, just buy that and you can trade these in or whatever. So I bought the original Alien by Ridley Scott. We've got Gladiator 2 in the theaters right now. Still haven't seen it. I hear this looks absolutely fantastic in 4K. The remaster is supposed to be glorious. Have not watched this one yet. But I was really interested in possibly picking it up because I used to see this all the time when I would actually go to Target looking for movies, but now they don't have them anymore. I kind of was SOL, so I ended up getting this through Amazon, and it was not expensive at all. It's been out for a couple of years, I think, so snagged that. And because I got that, I also snagged the Aliens 4K, which was one that I thought about buying because James Cameron had released like this wave of movies of his on 4K at the same time. It was Aliens, The Abyss, and True Lies. And I complained about it in the stream whenever that happened, September maybe, that he really did a number on True Lies when it came to the remastering because he used like AI and these noise reduction filters that take the grain out of the film. These movies were shot on film. Apparently he does not like that anymore. He's all about the digital look. So he basically used this program to scrub the grain out of every frame of the movie, and it gives everybody this like their skin, this waxy fake look. They look like mannequins, which is what happened to Terminator 2. And everyone says that's one of the worst transfers ever made on 4K. And apparently True Lies was the one that he really went to town on. And I agree, it looks terrible. So I was kind of skeptical about buying this, one of my all-time favorite films on 4K because of that fact alone. But I had just watched a review somewhere on YouTube where I can't remember if it was Films at Home or Jeff Rossiel or whatever, or someone else that said that James Cameron really did not do that to this one. He did upgrade everything to, the next resolution, but he did not scrub it of grain. He said there's maybe 2 times where it looked weird, but for the most part, it was the cleanest this movie's ever going to look and still looks like film. So I'm like, all right. So I picked up Aliens, and when it showed up the other day, I immediately put on the extended cut. And that was the other reason I was skeptical about buying this. I did not know if the extended cut was going to be upgraded to 4K as well. I figured it would have the theatrical cut in 4K and then maybe the special edition in 1080p. But no, both versions are on here and both in 4K. When I saw that, I was like, okay, buy it. And I will admit, it looks absolutely fantastic. The sound is great. It even has the original sound mix from the theater back in the day. And it still holds up. I am a 110% fan of the special edition version. I think it makes the movie way better. And then this got released on 4K. Does it need it? Does it need the upgrade? Probably not. But I'm a fan of this. I've been a fan of it since I was a kid. Is it a little controversial? Yes. But it still is kind of funny. And that's Blazing Saddles, the Mel Brooks Western parody, but this one is about as racy as you can possibly get. Every character in this movie drops a certain word multiple times, and it's used for comedic effect, but I mean, it was a different era, but it was also part of a joke, the joke of making the movie. So whatever, I look past that, but when you look past that, it is actually a very funny, very well-made movie that is kind of honoring and making fun of Westerns at the same time. But Gene Wilder and was it Cleavon Little? Hysterically funny. This one of my favorite lines of dialogue of all time comes from this movie, and that is when Gene Wilder and Cleavon Little come up against a Ku Klux Klan gathering, and they want to get past them. So they're hiding behind a rock, and they're like, "What are we going to do about this?" And Gene Wilder's like, "I got an idea." And all of a sudden he pops up from behind the rock and goes, "Oh, boys, I found something." And he pulls Cleavon Little out from behind the rock, and Cleavon Little goes, "Yo, where the white women at?" And the KKK members get all crazy and run after him, and they get their asses beat, and that's how they get past him. It is hysterically funny. So I figured, why not get this? And a brand new movie that just came out. I think it's so strange how fast theatrical films are now coming to home video. Back in the day, when I was a kid, on VHS, when that was the dominant media, a movie would come out in theaters. You'd be lucky if it came onto home video within 6 months to a year of its theatrical release. It was usually pushing closer to a year. If there was a big movie that made a ton of money and they wanted the sell-through money, VHS tapes back in the day were $80 each, between 60 and $80 each, which is why nobody had them day one. That was video stores were the only ones that could afford that. But Batman, let's say the original Batman from '89, that was a sell-through title. That made so much money. They didn't care. They didn't want to sell the tapes for 60 to $80. They already made their money theatrically. They were just now we can just sell it direct to the consumers because we've already made our profit. Now this is just going to be pure profit because now everybody's going to have a copy of this thing. But that didn't always happen. So, like I said, 6 months to a year. Now it's 2 months. This movie came out in September, and it came out in November. Beetlejuice. So, didn't get a chance to see this in the theater at all. I kept on saying I was going to, just never seemed to happen. So, eventually I just rented it on Amazon to watch, and I think I paid $10. So I watched it and I'm like, yeah, it's fun and everything. Is it as good as the original? If you ask me, no. The original is kind of a classic you can't beat. This one repeats a lot of the jokes and a lot of the moments from the first movie, which is kind of something I'm getting sick of with these movies that are playing off nostalgia. They feel the need to repeat themselves. So you're like, oh, I remember that. No, just tell me a new story with all these characters from the original movie. I would be fine with that. But Michael Keaton definitely gets more screen time than he did in the first one. I really do like Catherine O'Hara. Anything she does is hysterically funny to me. I think she's just a natural comedian. And although the things that I think ruin this for me is Monica Bellucci's her subplot being Beetlejuice's resurrected ex-wife. serves zero purpose in the movie. There's no reason her character needs to be there. It's like she was created so that Danny DeVito can have a cameo. And then after that, it's like, okay, then that's it. We don't need her anymore. But she just keeps on popping up randomly, be like, remember me? And then Winona Ryder also. Winona Ryder, I used to say was a great actress. I don't think she's that great anymore. The whole movie, she looks like she's in panic mode. The whole movie here, she's like this. Like her eyes are just ready to fall out of her head. Her eyes are open so wide. It's like she forgot how to act. It's just so weird. But Michael Keaton definitely still has it. And he's, aged quite a bit since the first movie. He's still funny as hell. He still has the character down. And this was a huge surprise hit. So I'm wondering I assume that the reason they named this Beetlejuice is so they can make a trilogy, and the next one will be Beetlejuice. So I like it. I don't like it nearly as much as the first film. So now we can move on to boutique labels, and I have two things here from Scream Factory / Shout Factory. One of them is an upgrade of a Blu-ray that I had, and that is Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. This is from Shout Factory, which is the non-genre arm of that company. And it's the story of Bruce Lee. Jason Scott Lee plays him, no relation. And I saw this in the theater opening night with a friend of mine, and it's a little melodramatic, and it's by Rob Cohen, who did Dragonheart and Triple X and the first Fast and the Furious and Stealth. So it's got that weird melodrama factor that he's like kind of known for, plus a couple of scenes that are kind of dumb and unnecessary. But it's a pretty decent movie. I remember I need to watch it again, and it does have a decent amount of extras as well. Does it really need the upgrade? Probably not. But I decided to pick it up because I had the Blu-ray and I wanted to upgrade it. This is a completely new movie to my collection, and I did not realize it was like this 4-disc set version. So over the years, I've become a real big fan of Mike Flanagan. What's up, Chum Nasty? How's it going? Mike Flanagan directed the Haunting of Hill House that was on Netflix, and then the Haunting of Bly Manor. He did Oculus, which is one of my favorite horror movies. He did Doctor Sleep, which is another one of my favorite horror movies, probably top 5 horror movies. The guy knows what he's doing, but I never really went back and watched his back catalog of stuff from before Oculus. He made a bunch of movies, like low-budget movies before that. And I want to say a few years ago, maybe around 2020, 2021, I went back and watched a bunch of them. Didn't like a couple of them because you can see he was still trying to figure out what's what. But he did one that I really liked, and that's called Hush. And this stars his now wife in the lead. I can't remember, Pamela or something, Katie Siegel. And basically if I remember correctly, she's a writer who lives in a house in the woods, and she's like alone. And then this like guy comes to try to break into her house and kill her. And she kind of turns the tables on him. And it's a standard like slasher-y kind of setup, but it's done extremely well. There's a couple of really inventive twists to it. So I really got a kick out of it. Thing is, I did not realize that this was going to have a bunch of different cuts of the movie on it. I did not realize there were extra cuts of the movie. Played on USA a lot. Yeah, I haven't watched it. I haven't watched Dragon in like years. And I bought a Blu-ray of it dirt cheap off of Amazon for like $3 or $4. Never watched it, never even opened it. And then the 4K was announced, and I was just kind of like, I'll just get that, and that's how I'll watch it. But I'll probably watch it hopefully within the next month. I'm off the last 2 weeks of the year, so I got plenty of time to catch up on movies. But yeah, this has 2 cuts. It's got a 4K version of the original version, and disc 2 is the Smash Cut, as it's called, and that's in 4K. And then it has the Smash Cut and the original version on a Blu-ray. And then disc 4 is nothing but special features. So it's 4 discs. So when this show, I didn't even realize it when I pre-ordered. I was just like, oh, Hush. Like, I should probably add that to the collection. That's a really cool movie. And then it shows up, and I'm like, why is it like thicker than normal? And then I look at the side, and it says 4-disc set. I'm like, what? Okay, I had no clue. So I am really excited to check this out. I might watch this after the stream tonight. So really pleasantly surprised by that. Definitely got my money's worth on that one. Hush is good too. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. So now I'm going to do the steel books because I tend to get a lot of steel books for some reason. I don't usually realize I'm ordering them until they show up. And I'm like, oh yeah, I did get that, didn't I? I just order whatever I see on Amazon. So the first one is another one by James Cameron, another one that everyone's been worried about. Did he remaster it to death? Did he like ruin the look of the movie? Does everybody look like a mannequin like on True Lies? And that's the Steelbook of the Terminator, the original Terminator. And I love the design of this Steelbook with you got Kyle and Sarah running away, and you got the Terminator's exoskeleton there, and on the back you've got like Arnold arriving in the past, which is great. On the inside, take the disc out. You got a shot of Arnold. And I watched this Friday because I was really curious. I watched that Aliens 4K, pleasantly surprised that he did not, NDR it to death, take all the noise out and make everybody look like mannequins like on the True Lies disc. So I was pleasantly surprised by that. And I'm like, okay, well, now that I've seen that and it turned out okay, let's check out this Terminator thing that just showed up this week. And luckily, he did this one right, too. He left the grain in. It still looks like it was shot on film. And the movie still holds up completely. I think this is still one of my favorite films of all time. It is like, I remember like the posters when I saw this as a kid, the posters and everything just made this look like, to me, a horror movie. It was just like this killer aiming a gun at you. It was like, it's one of those slasher movies with a guy with a gun kind of thing. And then my parents rented it for us when they went out bowling one night and like couldn't watch horror movies as a kid, R-rated horror movies, but an R-rated sci-fi action movie, sure, why not? So they rented this for us when I was a kid and like did not even see where the plot of this came from. I was like, oh, this is like brainier than your average film. And yeah, it still holds up. I absolutely love it. And it looks great. This one pissed me off. So this came out, this was released maybe 2 weeks before Halloween, and I had pre-ordered it, and Amazon had said, oh, it's going to ship, and it said it had shipped, and then all of a sudden, it's going to show up at the end of November. And everyone else that I know that I watch on YouTube had already gotten their copies of it, and I'm like, why did they delay this for so long? I don't understand. Was there something wrong with it or something? I don't know. But it finally showed up last week, and that is the Steelbook of A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Nightmare on Elm Street with Robert Englund. And I love that it's like the old VHS box that's been slashed open by Freddy's claw, and on the back you've got Freddy kind of ripping through the back of it. And the inside has a shot from the film of Freddy standing in the boiler room, I think toward the beginning of the film. And this is another one I was worried about, because there was this like infamous redub of this movie that was made, or not redub, but they changed the sound mix from the original like mono to make it 5.1. So they kind of changed a bunch of sound effects around. So like it's stupid nitpicky stuff, especially for me. But like they changed the sound of Nancy's watch at the end of the movie that like talks to her when she's supposed to wake up. And it's like, T-6 minutes or whatever. They changed it and it sounds really stupid. And some of the slasher sound effects were changed. And luckily, this has the original audio mix on it, as well as that new one. I watched it with the original audio mix. It's just like I remember. And then the big thing I wanted to check out was this has the quote-unquote uncut version of the movie on it. And I remember I had a VHS tape that I bought from, I think, Anchor Bay back in the day. That was a 2 VHS tape set that had the director's cut on it, or the uncut version on it, and I could not tell the difference. Turns out the difference is like 1.5 seconds of gore. And what it is, when Tina gets killed at the beginning and she's being like dragged across the ceiling, there's maybe a second of extra of her being dragged around. It's just like a splash of blood going across the ceiling. And then when she drops from the ceiling onto the bed, it usually cuts before she hits the bed. That's what I always remember, was you see her fall, and just before she hits the bed, they cut to Rod, and he goes like, and he gets splashed with blood, and you hear the sound. Now they show it, and I can see why they cut it out, because when she hits the bed, it's like you don't realize the bed is just absolutely covered in blood. So when she lands on it, you just see this splash, like tidal wave kind of splash of blood. And I'm like, okay, I understand that. That's back in. Everything else is the same. So watched it, and it looks absolutely fantastic. It looks like this was shot last month. That's how good the transfer is. So I'm very hopeful that they continue going on with the rest of the franchise in 4K. If it looks as good as this one, I'll be pretty happy. The other one, or the other thing was, I have a box set that has all these movies in it on Blu-ray. I watched them all for Halloween. And I was like, do I really need to buy this in 4K? Maybe I should just wait for another box set. There is no guarantee we're ever going to get that. So I figured I'll just buy this. And if it comes out, a box set comes out, I'll just get that and get rid of the rest. More gore, less nice. Yes. What's up, Peter? Made it for the big thing. Yes, you did. Like I said, this one is, last month was all movies and barely any games. This month is barely any movies and all games. And then the last Steelbook is Godzilla -1. Saw this in the theater with a friend of mine, and it kind of blew both of us away. Was not expecting it to be very good. The one that came out previous to this was called Shin Godzilla, and it was kind of a new take on it, and I could not stand it. I know Joel from Media Glitch is like, it's the best movie ever made. I could not stand it. I was so bored. I did not like the idea of, I mean, like, I like the movies where Godzilla's a bad guy. I also like the ones where he's kind of a good guy. But in that one, it's just like he's this brainless thing, and I could not stand it. It was just, I thought it was boring. It dealt with all this bureaucracy crap, and it's like, when Godzilla's not destroying something, it keeps on cutting back to a boardroom where people are sitting around talking about how they're going to allocate money. What does that have to do with anything? Just get back to Godzilla destroying shit. I could not stand it. But this one, even though it does spend a hell of a lot of time with the humans aside from Godzilla, the characters are actually interesting, and you give a crap about them because it's like World War II. There's a guy that has like survivor's guilt, and he's kind of dealing with it. And there's this woman that has been nice to him, and something bad might have happened to her, and he thinks it's his fault, and he kind of, it's really, really good. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it. But Godzilla, this won an Oscar for Best Special Effects. I don't think it was deserving of it at all. Godzilla looks like a freaking robot in it, and he moves like a robot, but everyone's just kind of like, this movie was made on like $6 million, and Godzilla looks like that? Oh, it's so good. No. No. Oh, man. I thought the creator deserved the Oscar for that. But yeah, this finally got released. This came out last December in theaters, and it finally got a home video release. It was on Netflix for a little while. I don't know if it still is, but it finally got on physical media. It doesn't have a whole lot of extras, just like these right here, which is next to nothing, but it has a really cool slipcover. And when you pull it off, you get a shot of Godzilla trudging through Tokyo. A shot of his booty. And it has a cut, like three discs in it. That's cool. I'm not going to take them all out, but it's a shot of Godzilla's face when he was chasing after that boat in the movie. And it also comes with a poster, which is pretty rad. I also have the IMAX poster when I saw this in the theater that they were handing out to people. So I have that as well. So now I have 2 Godzilla -1 posters. So that's awesome. Really like this one. Probably one of the best Godzilla movies to come out in a long time. But like a serious one, not like a goofy one like we get with the MonsterVerse movies, like the one that came out over the summer. Was it Godzilla Cross Kong? This one's like an actual serious movie that's actually trying to say things. So I really enjoy that one. And then I got a lot of stuff from the Criterion collection this month. So Criterion is like a boutique label. They've been around since the DVD days, Laserdisc days. Shit. They put out these really high quality transfers of movies, and they've moved into 4K, and they released a lot this month, like 2 major releases. And they also did like a Black Friday sale. Can't talk. They did like a Black Friday sale at the beginning of the month. And it was like through Amazon. Like you can go to Amazon, and there was an entire page dedicated to the Criterion collection. And I went through the movies that they have, and they do a lot of stuff that I would never buy in a million years, like the red shoes and stuff like that. So I'm looking at what they have, and there was 2 movies. One of them I actually had pre-ordered at one point, but I canceled it because when the price when I pre-ordered it was lower than when it was coming out. For some reason, they jacked the price up on Amazon, and I was like, no, and I canceled it because I was not paying like $60 for it, for what the movie that this is. But they lowered it, and it was like, now it was like $18. And then I got another older release of theirs that I've been considering buying for a while, and I got that for like $18 too. So I was like, all right, fine. So the one that I canceled and now reordered was The Others with Nicole Kidman. This was kind of like a response to The Sixth Sense, because all of a sudden ghost stories were really popular in the late 90s, early 2000s. And I can't remember who directed this. I think it was a Spanish director. Yeah, Alejandro Emendaro or something. Alejandro Emembar. I can't read it. It's tiny, tiny, tiny font. But anyway, I went and saw this in the theater, And me and my friends all thought we had it pegged, like what was going on, because it's like a mystery, like what is going on. So it's like Nicole Kidman and her two kids are like trapped in this mansion, and her two kids are like really sick, and they keep on seeing these like ghost type characters trying to like either attack them or I can't remember exactly what they were trying to do. They're either trying to attack them or drive them out of the house or something like that. And it's not really what's going on. And it's like when the twist happens, it's like, oh shit! Like it gets you the same way the Sixth Sense kind of did. Like, how did I not see those clues? And then you watch the movie again, and it's like, oh, they're in front of me the whole time. I never realized it. So I have not actually seen this since the theater, which was like 2000 or 2001 or something like that. 2001. Yep. So I need to watch it again. I'll probably watch it when I'm on vacation in a couple weeks. So wanted to pick this one up. And the one that I have been putting off buying forever, and now this was my opportunity, was I picked up a copy of Videodrome. This is one of David Cronenberg's earlier movies when he was still doing all the body horror type of stuff, which is now kind of back thanks to The Substance. And this is like one of the OGs, man. So James Woods is in it. Debbie Harry from Blondie, the lead singer of Blondie is in it. And it's about a television station that kind of like changes your consciousness, and you start to hallucinate bizarre things. Like James Woods starts to think that there's like a vagina in his chest, and he can stick his hand in it, and his hand becomes a gun. It is like really weird. It's like this like pirate TV station brainwashes you into thinking what they want you to think. And I remember it being really, really interesting. When I was a kid, I saw it. Probably shouldn't have seen it, but I watched it and I was like, this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. There's actually a scene where they show Debbie Harry getting her ears pierced, and like it's real. Like you see somebody put like an eraser behind her ear, and then they stick a needle through her ear, and it's like in close up, and you actually see it happen. It's really gross. But I really liked it, and I need to watch it again. It's bizarre. It's not super long, but yeah, had to pick that up. That's a classic. And then the two that they released this month, I pre-ordered, and one of which is, just talked about, the Godzilla -1, the original Godzilla. I did have a Criterion Blu-ray of this, but I wanted to pick up the 4K because black and white movies tend to look absolutely stellar in 4K. When you get the HDR in there, the black levels and the white levels are kind of clashing, and they look fantastic. It really like brings out detail. So yeah, this is one of the ones where Godzilla is meant to be scary, kind of like Godzilla -1. Godzilla is the product of nuclear testing, thanks to World War II, and he decides to destroy Tokyo, and a bunch of people have to stop it from happening. And I went and saw this in the theater, I want to say 10 years ago, at the Music Box down the street from me, and it looked great. It was the first time I'd actually think I've seen the movie completely from beginning to end, and I was like, this is still fantastic. So had to get that. And this has a ton of extras on it. This entire thing right here is nothing but the extras. Fantastic. Nothing but featurettes about it. A high-definition digital restoration of Godzilla King of the Monsters. What? Oh, Terry Morris's 1956 reworking of the original and uncompressed monaural soundtrack. Okay, whatever. Cool. And then the big one is, if you go by the numbers, so these are all numbered. Like, they number their releases so you know where they fall if you're like a completionist like me. I'm not going to do that with these. But this is obviously the second movie they ever released. And this is like, since it's the second movie they ever released, like probably on Laserdisc back in the day, it's still considered number 2 here. And that's The Seven Samurai, Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Another black and white movie that I cannot wait to watch. That's probably going to look absolutely fantastic in 4K. So you've probably seen this movie before. Going over these on stream. Well, like Hush, man. Found out that it had 2 different cuts of the movie on it before when I bought it, I did not even know that. When it showed up, I'm like, why is this so thick? Oh, it's got 2 cuts of the movie on it. Awesome. So you've probably seen versions of this before. Battle Beyond the Stars is a sci-fi reworking of this. The Magnificent Seven is a reworking of this. Not Kill Bill. What's the movie I was thinking about earlier? Star Wars, kinda. Star Wars is actually The Hidden Fortress by Kurosawa. So the whole idea behind this is this village, this like farming village, a warlord comes to them and basically says, like, you are mine now. I own all of you. And I'll be back in a couple of days. I'll be back in like a week. And you all had better have your harvest done and ready for me to pick up, because if I don't, I'm killing each and every one of you. So what they end up doing is sending one of their own out into the world to go and find mercenaries to help defend that village from this warlord and his crew. If you saw, what's it called? Damn it, that Zack Snyder movie that's on Netflix, that the sci-fi one. Shit, Child of Fire. God damn it, I'm gonna lose my mind thinking about this now. Let me double check this real quick. No, not that. Come on, look it up. You can do it, computer. You can do it. You can do two things at once. Come on. Come on. Zack Snyder. There we go. Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon. The two Rebel Moon movies that are on Netflix right now. That's a reworking of this. And I absolutely love it. Yeah, Rebel Moon. There you go, Chub Nasty. So if you've seen those and you like it, this is the OG. This is where that came from. And I absolutely love it. It is super freaking long, though. This is 207 minutes long. So take that. But like I said, the OG, I absolutely had to have that. And it's like one of those movies that on DVD I wanted to buy, and I never did. They did release a DVD. They did release this on Blu-ray as well. Did not buy that either. And then when this got announced, I was like, now is the freaking time. I'm glad I did not have to replace it with another one, the double dip. So first time I've ever owned it. Yes, it is the Magnificent Seven. And this has a ton of extras on it as well. This whole section down here. And it's a big box. Well, let's crack this open and see what it is. Because I don't think this is on multiple discs. Unboxing, y'all. Hope you're ready for the long haul. This is going to be a long-ass stream because, like I said, I went a little crazy when I was out with Rocket Sauce yesterday in Wisconsin shopping for the video games. So, yeah, it has like a book inside that opens up. It's like a digipack. Has a book and then 3 discs. One of them is obviously for extra, so that's probably a Blu-ray. But the book is like essays about the movie and stuff, which is awesome. I love that kind of shit. So, had to have that. There. All right. And then the last 2 things I'm going to talk about are box sets. One of them is I owned, I think, 1 movie in 4K already. One of the movies in this set on 4K, but not the other 2. And I wanted to have the other 2, so I picked this big box set up to, knock 2 of them off the list. That is the Zaz collection. That is Abrams Zucker collection. And this has the first Airplane on it, the first Naked Gun film, and Top Secret. There's the combination of all 3 movies. You got the cow from Top Secret, you got Drebin from Naked Gun, and you got Otto, the autopilot from Airplane. And 3 of my favorite comedies. Absolutely love these. Top Secret, I think, is, well, obviously it is underrated because it's one that not a lot of people seem to remember actually ever being made. It's one of Val Kilmer's first movies. And he's not only a great comic actor, but he's also a singer, and he gets to sing because he's like a Elvis type character in the movie, and he like sings a lot. And it's really, really funny. It's like it makes fun of World War II type stuff. Zaz, the booklet, comes with it, and it's just a bunch of pictures about the movies. There's Val Kilmer when he's doing one of his musical numbers. Chris is streaming. What's up, Game Room? How's it going? And just getting wrapped up with the movie stuff. So had to get this. The one I previously owned already on 4K was Police Squad. I had a steelbook of it. But when this came out, I was like, I'll just get the 4K set because originally the plan was they were going to release all of these separately, and I had pre-ordered Top Secret separately, and then all of a sudden the pre-order disappeared off of Amazon. And I look, and it's like it got canceled because they were like, not a lot of people are going to order it. I guess the pre-orders were not to what they were expecting, or the numbers were not what they were expecting. So they decided to just release it as a box set, which I'm fine with. So I got 3 classic comedies in one box set. I'm happy with that. And then the last thing is actually something that I got last month, or not last month, this is December now, back in October, and I totally forgot to talk about it in last month, October's stream. Because money was so tight in October, I was actually thinking I was going to send this back and get a refund. I didn't think I was going to keep it. So I keep a list of everything I get movie-wise, so I know what to take off my shelves when I do one of these streams. So I have like a list every time a new movie shows up in the mail. And I never wrote this one down because I was thinking I was going to send it back, and then I didn't. So I completely skipped over it for October. So when I was rearranging all the movies in my collection the other day, I pulled this out to move it, and I was like, I never did talk about this in October, did I? Well, it's this box set of the Project A collection. This is a bunch of Jackie Chan movies from the 80s that he did with Sammo Hung and I think Yoon Bu. You got the trio from China. And this says, wow, excuse me. Damn. This says Project A and Project A2 on it. And also a ton of extras. These are like action comedies, just like, Jackie Chan is known for. Top Gun is great. Where did Top Gun come from? Oh, you mean Top Secret? So this is from Golden Harvest. They were like the huge like kung fu movie company that was kind of like also partially based in the US, if I remember correctly, back then. So here we have Project A and Project A2. And you got Jackie Chan like dressed up like God, that is so dumb. He's got like that floofy collar thing. Yeah, there's Yoon Bu right there. I have not seen these in. Yeah, there's Yoon Bu right there too, and there's Sammo Hung. So you got all 3 of them in the same movie. I knew this was one of those. There's only like a handful of movies, all 3 of them, because they all went to school together to learn how to act and learn how to do martial arts. And there's only a handful of movies where they're in the same movie together. It's this and Wheels on Meals and I think maybe one other one. So I wanted to get this for that fact alone because the 3 of them, when they're together, it is like comic gold. And I love these when I first rented the VHSs of these back in the 90s. I thought they were awesome. So I need to watch them again. And it also comes with this thick-ass book, which is just all about the making of the films. Awesome. And it also comes with a poster. And that I always talk about this. There was a movie that we had at the video store I worked at called The Deadliest Art, which is essentially just a big compilation of like the best martial arts scenes from kung fu movies, narrated and like hosted by John Saxon from Enter the Dragon. And I remember it was always renting. It was always out. People were always renting it. I don't know why. I could not figure out why. And then finally I watched it. I'm like, this is why, because it's freaking rad. It has all these awesome fight scenes in it from all these random movies. It made me want to watch all of them. And they show one from this movie where it's kind of like I think they were talking about comedy in kung fu movies at that point in the video. And they're saying like Jackie Chan pulls a lot of inspiration from like Chaplin and stuff like that. And there is an action scene in Project A where Jackie Chan is on a bike and he's trying to like escape a bunch of people that are chasing him. And he keeps on like getting hit by things in these alleys he's driving through and finds a way to use martial arts to like get back on his bike. And it's like comedy gold stuff. And that was when I was like, I need to watch this damn movie. So it has a poster of each movie, the original Japanese, the original Chinese posters and everything, which is awesome. So I'm glad I kept it because I don't know how long this is going to be available. So there's that. Naked Gun. Okay, so now we can move on to the games. And like I said, I went flipping nuts. Not only with like the Black Friday deals in general, because they start at the beginning of November. So I was buying stuff from the start of November until the end of it. But when I game hunting yesterday in Wisconsin with Rocket Sauce and TJ Kitsune and TJ's girlfriend, and I found tons of good stuff. And every place we went had a buy 2 get 1 free deal. So I was like, I felt obligated to have to get, 2 games, at least 2 games to get a free one. So when it comes to like the things I got online, at the beginning, I ordered a new PS5 controller from GameStop. They had these on sale for like 40 something, and they're normally like 60, 70 or something like that. So I was like, for 40, I think it was $45, I need a new one anyway, because I had previously bought a separate controller, a red controller for the PS5. And I think from the way I was playing Days Gone for the Cartridge Club back in October, I might have damaged one of the thumbsticks, like the left thumbstick, because now it has like drift. So when I started to play Astrobot, I wouldn't even have my thumb on the stick and Astrobot be running forward. So I'm like, well, I got stick drift now, so I need to get a new controller. And luckily they went on sale for Black Friday, so I picked up a new one. This is a midnight black one, which looks pretty fantastic. Would I have liked to get the 30th anniversary or 25th anniversary controller that looks like a PlayStation 1 controller? Yeah, absolutely, but it didn't happen. But I'm glad I have a new one. So we're going to go through all the different games starting. Well, I'll talk about this now too. I picked this up when I was out yesterday with Rocket Sauce. So we went to, I think it was Press Start Games. It was where I got this. And there was a 2-buy-2 games, get one used sale. But they also had, I think it was 15% off accessories. And I've been wanting to play my PS2 lately, but I just hate having to hook it up through my RetroTink because it's just real cumbersome. So I'm like, I just need like a dedicated HDMI cable for my PS2, for crying out loud. And they had them there and it was on sale. So I picked up a Hyperkin HD TV cable for the PS2. And it works for the PS1 as well. Like, my PS2 is my PS1. And I tried this out today. And at first I thought it was broken. And it's weird too, because this requires being plugged into a wall socket. This little junction box here has like a little side plug for a USB, like a mini USB plug. You have to plug it into the wall to power, which is, I think, pretty stupid. But when I first hooked this up, everything was coming out of my TV green. And I was like, oh, great. I can't even take this thing back because it's in Wisconsin. I have to drive for freaking 3 hours to Green Bay to take this stupid thing back. And I was like, well, let me check the settings on the PS5 or PS2 first. So I go into the menus, and it was set for the 5 plug. I can't remember what that is, composite component or whatever. And I switched it back to the 3 plug, and it went to the color. And I was like, okay, fine. So it works fine now. And I was playing Star Trek Conquest on my 4K TV today with this thing, and it looks pretty good. So, hell yeah. Nice PS2 love. Hell yeah. I've been wanting to play my PS2 forever, but like I said, hooking it up is a pain in my butt. So it's like I just need a dedicated cable specifically for it, and that's great that I can do that. Okay, so here we go with the video games. So starting off with the oldest, and we'll go to the newest. And the oldest is definitely the Atari 2600 game that I picked up yesterday. And I got this at Press Start as well, place I bought that cable. And that is MASH on the Atari 2600. You know me and my license games, we got a thing going on. Controller drift is ridiculous. We have 6 Xbox One controllers that have had drift so far. The potentiometers don't last and are almost impossible to replace. Yeah, that's why I was like, I just need to buy a new controller. So I've been using the base controller that came with my PS5 lately, and it works fine. It's a standard controller. It's great. But I don't want to wear that one out, because if I ever get rid of the PS5, I want to have that controller with it. You know, if I ever get like a Pro or something. So I want to have the controller to go back with the console. So I don't want to wear that one out. So I just want to get a separate one. But yeah, this is from 20th Century Fox when they were releasing video games for the Atari 2600. I don't know if they did this for any other console. I think it was specifically for the Atari. So they did this. They did Megaforce. They did Alien. They also released a game based on Porky's that I talked about in my licensed videos that I did, the 31 Days of Licensed Games series that I did back in 2021. I talked about the Porky's game. And these are usually a little bit thicker box than you're used to, because you have to like open it up here on the side. There's like a little latch, and then there's like a insert that slides out. And I've got a manual that looks brand spanking new, and the cartridge. And who thought that there would ever be a video game based on MASH? And this is not based off of MASH, the television show. This is based off of MASH, the movie with Donald Sutherland. Not the show with Alan Alda. But, like, why would we need a game based on MASH, you ask? Because why not, I guess. But I want to get all of these 20th Century Fox games because they were always kind of interestingly made. And I remember playing this, and if I remember correctly, it's... You've been piloting your chopper low through trees, picking up wounded and rushing them back to the 4077th MASH unit. There was enemy fire all around you, and you're still shaking like a leaf. You'd like to rest now, but time is running out for the soldiers you've rescued. There's no way around it. The pressure is on. You have to operate, and it's going to take a steady hand and a Hawkeye. If I remember correctly, part of it is the helicopters. I remember the helicopter stuff you can see here. I remember playing that part, but apparently there's also operation mode where you have to like do an operation, I guess. I don't remember that. But I only played this briefly back in the day. One of my friends had this. So, where can I put this? I'll put it over here. So, I had to have that. Next up is an NES game, and I picked this up at Play Together, I think is the name of the store. It's a relatively newer store in the area, and it's actually not too far from Rocket Sauce's place. And this was the place where I was struggling to find, like I found a couple of things that I wanted to buy for their buy two, get one free sale. And I was struggling to find a third thing. And you'll see that when I get there, and I'm still kind of pissed about it. So one of the things I wanted to pick up was one of my goals is to get all the Capcom games for the NES, and I'm getting pretty close. So I still needed Disney's Adventures in the Magic Kingdom, which is like a platformer, and you go through all the different Disney attractions at the park in video game form. So like Pirates of the Caribbean and the Haunted Mansion and all that kind of stuff. So I wanted to get this one. I don't think I've ever really spent any time playing this. I want to say I rented it back in the day, but that's probably it. But it's complete. I checked this one, which is what pisses me off about the other game I bought. So yeah, you got the manual. I did have to put a styrofoam. I have a box of this styrofoam little chunk, the little bar that you have to put in these. I have a box of those. So it has the manual and it has the cart. So one step closer to my goal. What's up, Retro Coop? How's it going? So, from what I understand, this one was not very well received back in the day. I think I recall seeing like the reviews in the magazine saying that it was like, eh. But like nowadays, people consider this one kind of like a classic. So, whatever. But then Rocket Sauce, at the end of the day, he gave me that Star Trek 3 glass at the end of our trip yesterday that he found at Goodwill, like I was talking about earlier. And he was talking about some of the other games he has in his collection. He was going to get rid of a bunch of these repros that he has. And one of them, he was just kind of like, yeah, I'm going to get rid of it. I'm just going to give it to a friend. And I was like, well, if you don't want it anymore, I'll take it so I can at least have this in cartridge form. Because I'm telling you right now, there's no way in hell I'm ever going to be able to afford getting an actual version of this game. Ever. Unless I win the lottery or something. Or I get my leg cut off at work and I get a settlement or something like that. So he gave me a repro of Little Samson. So there's that, and it's blue. He says he had the repro made in blue so that if he ever wanted to get rid of it, it would be an indicator that it was a repro and not an authentic cart. Because, you know, there's people out there that try to sell these to like GameStop and stuff, not that they're doing retro games again. They try to get like top dollar for it when it's actually like not an original cart. So, yeah, I can finally play some Little Samson, and I did not have to sell a kidney to get it. So, that's awesome. So, it's like a platformer, like, it came out, I think, toward the very end of the life of the NES, so there were not a lot of copies made. You knew it was a repro. I was fucking with 8-Bit Glitch on Discord today about it, where he's like, is that a real legit cart, or is that a repro? And I was just kind of like, I ain't saying. He's like, you're killing me, Smalls. But yeah, I can't wait to look for it. I can't wait to play that. Like I said, it's a platformer, and there's like 4 different types of characters with 4 different kind of attributes. There's like a dragon that can fly and shoot fire. Samson like throws, I can't remember, little fireballs or something, and he like jumps really far. There's a little mouse that can climb on the walls, and then there's like a golem that is made out of stone, and he like has like this like punch thing that he does. So I've really been wanting to play that forever, but like I said, never thought I was going to be able to afford it. And I'm always looking for new Lynx games that I don't have in my collection. I'm still toying with the idea of maybe going for a complete Lynx collection. So the only Lynx game I saw this entire weekend, or like all day yesterday, was Xenophobe, which is a port of an Atari arcade game. I think it was actually made by Epix, who designed the Lynx and all that. So of course, there's a lot of games made by Epix available on the Lynx because they made it. And it's like ripping off Aliens, obviously. And you play as a couple of different types of characters. I think they all play the same though, but they're all like bounty hunters. You go to these like space stations, and it's just like a run and gun, a really slow run and gun where you're taking out all these aliens floor by floor until you clean them all out, and then you get off the station and you go to a new one and start it all over again. And there's pictures on the back, but they are so dark you can't see shit. But it is completely complete. This whole thing looks brand new. Even has a registration card, the manual, the cartridge, and everything. And even, like I said, the registration card in here. So happy to get that. And usually this one is really expensive. I remember I see this at the Midwest Gaming Classic all the time, and I always say no because I'm not going to pay $80 freaking for it. So getting it for the price that I did for the buy two get one free sale, hell yeah. Got one Game Boy game this week this weekend yesterday. Is this opening on the? Why would you put it in sideways, you dummies? Anyway, I got a new Game Boy game that I've been wanting for a while. It's been on my wish list for a while, and that is Alien vs. Predator: The Last of His Clan. So I do have Alien vs. Predator on the Super Nintendo, which is a side-scrolling beat-em-up where you play as a predator and you're beating the shit out of aliens and stuff. And this is kind of like also a beat-em-up, but it's side-scrolling because you can't really do a beat-em-up-y kind of things on a Game Boy, at least in the way that you can on a Super Nintendo. So I love the Alien franchise. I love the Predator franchise. I love the two when you mix them together, except those live-action movies that they made. So I had to get this. And it was at a pretty good price. It was definitely a hell of a lot cheaper than I see it at the conventions I go to. So, wow, shit. I got the manual. It has the original cart holder. Or insert, if you want to call it that. Hang on. The cart and a case. For some reason, everything's in here sideways. I don't understand this place. So I got this at Press Start as well, where I got MASH and the PS2 cable. So another one I've been wanting for a while. I actually, like said, like my goals for the weekend going out game hunting was I want to get something for a handheld console. Hopefully the original Game Boy. I'm always looking for old Game Boy games. You were unaware? Well, now you know, and you have now been enabled. I was like, I desperately wanted to get a new game for the original Game Boy because I love Game Boy games. I love it. I saw tons of Game Boy Advance stuff. Not a lot of Game Boy Color, although there's one store we went to was a Press Start, had both Oracle of Ages and Oracle of Seasons, and I have Oracle of Ages. I was thinking about buying Oracle of Seasons, and then I saw that they wanted $150 for it, and I said, yeah. So snagging this kind of got the itch, and then also getting Xenophobe helped. I also bought a bunch of repros for the Genesis and another console. And my buddy, he used to be Toysaurus Games on Instagram, and now he's changed it to Sega Games Galore. Sega_Games_Galore. Makes nothing but Genesis and 32X and some Master System repros every once in a while. Usually a lot of them are like Game Gear games transferred to a Master System cart since they share the same hardware. But a lot of them are like hacks of the Streets of Rage games with like different characters. There's one that he has with Michael Jackson from Moonwalker in Streets of Rage 2, which I was really thinking about picking up. But I ended up just going with this. This is I was replacing a version I already have of this because the one I have, I do not like the way it is. It was made super cheap and all that, and I was like, the hell with that. I'd rather just have a new one that looks really nice, and he did some really cool things with the packaging for this. And that is Pringles the Game. So somebody thought it was a good idea to like do a homebrew game based on Pringles. I don't know why. And if you've ever played Cool Spots, I guess is the closest comparison I have to this, where you play as like a Pringles chip, like the logo from Pringles, and all you do is bounce around, and you just have to collect the chips as you bounce through the stages, kind of like the way Cool Spot kind of works. And you can see it here, even though it looks a little busy. The back says, bounce and crunch through 9 flavorful levels as you take control of Mr. Pringle and bounce your way from chip to tasty chip. Bounce around 3 flavors and 9 fantastic stages. Fly up the Pringle stack and rack up the radical combos as you grab chip after tasty chip. Because once you pop, you can't stop, bro. And he did, like, with the packaging of this, it looks fantastic. If you noticed where the Genesis logo is, those are like Pringles chips behind it. And when you open it up, the cartridge actually has like Pringles chips in the background of it. And if you turn it around, that's all you see are Pringles chips, which I thought was really cool. I wonder if this lights up as well, because usually he does a clear cartridge like this. That means there's an LED in here somewhere. I need to boot this up and see if it lights up. So had to get that as a replacement. So it's not a great game, but it's not bad either. It's just kind of there. It's fun little diversion if you want to play something mindless. Let's see. Next up, I got a PC Engine game, and I got this at Press Start. No, I got this at Game Trade. And looking around, because they're doing the 2-for-1 also, buy 2, get 1 free thing. And I had, I think, 4 games in my hand. And I'm like, I need to find 2 more in order to get the deal. But I was being real careful about it because there's a lot of junk. I didn't want to keep whipping my phone out and looking at my collection to see what I have. I was just like, look for things that you know you don't have that you actually want to play. Don't just buy shit. So I'm looking around, and then I see it in the corner of the room, they have like this little import section. And I'm like, oh, maybe a Super Famicom game or something, or maybe a Famicom game or whatever, because I can play those on my Polymega. So I'm looking through them, and everything was like Mahjong or soccer or baseball or something. So I'm like, no. And then I see there's a bunch of like import Saturn games. I'm like, ooh, I can play those too. So I start going through those, and it's the same thing. It's like baseball and Mahjong. And then I see there's a bunch of like PC Engine and PC Engine CD games. So I start flipping through those, and I get to this one, and I'm like, I know that artwork from something. That's like a Sega CD game that is super freaking expensive, and I'll never be able to afford. If this is the exact same game, I'll just get it here and pay the $20 that they're asking for it instead of the $300, $400 that they're asking for the Sega CD version. And it's in Japanese, but this is actually the Space Adventure that's available on Sega CD. And I saw the girl in her little bikini doing that little kick, and that's exactly the same artwork that's on the Sega CD game. So when I looked at it, I'm like, I know that from something, and then it clicked. And then I look at the back, and I'm like, yes, it looks just like that game. And it is basically like a point-and-click visual novel kind of thing. It's like an outer space drama soap opera-y thing, and you choose your adventure kind of thing. I've always wanted to play it, but can't afford it. Didn't even really knew it existed back in the day. So had to pick this up. And I showed it to TJ. He came up to me when I was looking at the TurboGrafx games. He's like, oh, I didn't even know they had TurboGrafx stuff over here. I'm like, well, yeah, but look what I found. And I show him the artwork, and he goes, is that what I think it is? And I'm like, yep, that's the Space Adventure. Manual and everything tells you everything what you need to know in Japanese. So I'm going to definitely, I hope there's a patch in English that I can use this, because I can play this on my Polymega. So yeah, absolutely had to get this. $20 over $400. Yeah, I'll take that any day. And then at Play Together, the first place we went, one of the games I wanted to get was another Sega CD game. I was hoping to find some Sega CD stuff this weekend. And I found Midnight Raiders, which is another full motion video game that I did not have back in the day. And I was like, I saw it in their case, because the thing about Play Together is everything is behind glass. You can't touch anything. Even the discount, like the clearance stuff, is behind glass. So I was like, can I see what that one is? I almost bought Prince of Persia for the Sega CD, but it was a little bit more expensive than this. So I was like, well, let me see that Midnight Raiders, because I want to see if it's what I thought it was. And when I looked at it, I'm like, yep, it's another full motion video game. So I'm like, yep, give it to me. So I snagged this one. This has a crack in it, but I do have replacement cases I can use. So that helps. So I don't think this stars anybody who ended up moving on to be anything in Hollywood. But yeah, it's basically like a helicopter combat simulator, but full motion video. So had to get that. Absolutely love full motion videos. They're my video games. They're like my they're my guilty pleasure because I used to love playing them because it was a new thing back in the 90s when I got my Sega CD. Super Nintendo games couldn't do that kind of thing. So this is cool. I'm playing an interactive movie, and me being a movie guy, I'm like, this is awesome. And I've always kind of liked them. I'm still buying the new full motion video games that are coming out all the time through like limited run and all that. Is the Cashier Behind Glass? Almost. I got another Sega CD game when I was at Press Start. No, sorry, Game Trade. And this one was a little more expensive, but when you think about getting the free game and all that, it brought the price down of this. So I was like, okay, it's a little pricier. It was a choice between this game or what is it, AX 101 for the Sega CD. They had both of them in the case, and I was like, let me look at AX 101, and I'm looking at it, and it's like a CGI airplane combat sim thing where you're like in the cockpit, and it looked really polygony fake, like beyond, like even worse than what Star Fox looks like. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. This one, I look at the back, I'm like, oh, this one's the fighting game. That's what I thought it was. So I'm like, give me the fighting game, and that is Revengers of Vengeance, possibly one of the worst titles for a video game ever, behind Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. And this one even has the little sponge in there to protect the disc. But yeah, this is a one-on-one fighting game with like these gigantic characters. And you can see it. Like up here, you got these gigantic characters fighting. And I was like, that's what I need. Isn't it sweet? Based on a true story. Revengers of Vengeance erupts onto your screen with heart-stopping, limb-tearing, fist-throwing, hand-to-hand combat action and pulls you, kicking and screaming for mercy, into a fantastic and violent world. 3 ways to play, including a detailed fantasy role-playing mode. Okay, that's cool. Each Revenger has secret, hidden death moves that can lay waste to their foes. Warning, no players will be permitted to join the game during the final confrontation with Venom. And Venom is spelled Venum. Have you ever felt the need to pummel evildoers into the dirt? Revengers of Vengeance may just be the video game that changes your life. Sure, whatever. So, had to get that. Absolutely had to get it. I love Sega CD. It's like another thing that I have a soft spot for. It's one of those consoles like the 3DO I just have a soft spot for. And then one of the other goals I had set for going game hunting was I wanted to get some more 3D or 32X stuff. I'm definitely going for a complete 32X collection. Why? Don't ask me. I'm weird like that. So, didn't see anything that I didn't already have at Play Together, the first place we went. Even Ryan, Rocket Sauce, pointed out in this case, is like, oh, look at all those 32X games down there. I'm like, I have every one of those. I'm like, how sad is it that this console that, you know, nobody wants, and I have all the games that they have in this case. And there was a lot of them down there. I'm like, I have every one of them. We go to Game Trade. We go to Game Trade, and they have a bunch of expensive ones behind glass, but they have like the lower price ones outside that you can just pick up off the shelf. One of those was Tough Man Contest. And yes, my friend asked me, is that Butterbean on the cover? Yes, it is Butterbean with his nipples exposed and everything. And yeah, this is a fighting game that looks to me like I've never played this version of it. I want to say the one that came out on the Genesis was kind of like just a regular old boxing game. But this one looks like the original Punch-Out arcade game, where you're playing as this wireframe character whose back is to you, so you can see your opponent who is facing you, and you're beating the shit out of them. So you can kind of see here, you got like your wireframe, green wireframe of your character, like in the foreground with your back to the camera. And it's like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. So I absolutely had to get this. And the box itself is a little damaged on the inside, but I don't care. But it does have the manual and everything, so it was cheap. I think this was like $13 or something. And with a 2-for-1 sale, like I was not going to pass that up. They had another copy that looked like somebody had stuck it up their butt, which is why I did not buy that one. Even though this one is damaged, I was like, I'll deal with it. I don't care if the box is damaged as long as the game works most of the time. And while this isn't my normal type of game, I'm not a sports game fan, this actually looks interesting enough that I would give it a go. So, had to get that. And then one of the games they had in the case that was expensive at Game Trade was WWF Raw. They also had WWF, the arcade game, for the 32X, and why that one is $170, I will never know. I picked the perfect console to collect for because everything that I have already in the collection, most of them is all the cheap stuff. Now it's just super expensive stuff left to go. Yay me. They also had Knuckles Chaotix, and they had Knuckles Chaotix, they had Tempo, and they had Calibri. And those are like three of the really expensive ones. And I was just kind of like, no, not yet. I'll wait for a convention of some sort to get a discount on those. I'll get this one because this was the cheapest one. You have Doom for the 2X? I have that one too. And yeah, this is just a port of the Genesis game with a little bit higher resolution graphics, more colors, probably a little bit more animation. So there you go. I'm not a big wrestling fan, but the arcade style wrestling games, like the arcade game, WWF, the arcade game, I like a lot. So if this plays like that, I'll be happy, but I probably won't be playing this one very much otherwise. Anyway. And then I got 2 more repros from my buddy at Sega Games Galore or Toy Source Games. And these are unfinished games that were, well, they are finished. They were just never released. Like they were canceled because the 32X got canceled. Maybe one of these got released. I want to say this one got released overseas, but we never got it here. This one was finished, but never was released, which is sad because it's a pretty big license, and that is Disney's Pinocchio. Who knew there was a Pinocchio game? I think this came out on the Game Boy or the Game Gear or something like that, but we never got this version of it, and it's like a platformer like The Lion King and Aladdin and The Jungle Book and Pocahontas and all the other Disney games we got during this generation. But this one just stars Pinocchio, and there's a scene where you go through the whale's tummy and everything. I don't know if this came out on the Super Nintendo or anything like that. But yeah, this was completed. It just never got released. And the cartridge is like this translucent blue glitter. Why, I have no idea. Oh, the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star thing. I gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. So when I saw that Eric had this for sale, I was like, yeah, I'll take that. And then the one that I do believe came out in the UK for the 32X is, but we never got over here. I snagged Dark Side, and this is behind the ship shooter, kind of like Star Fox, but higher res, obviously. You can actually go in the cockpit too. Now that I can see it on the back. And excuse me, I love those Wing Commander style games. So when I saw that this was a thing, I was like, yeah, give me that one. Give me that one too. So these don't come with manuals, but they do have artwork that looks really good. And the cart for this one is like this galaxy paint, which starts off kind of like light and it turns into space and it has like stars on it and everything. It looks beautiful. So I had to get that. There is a couple of other games that he has for the 32X for sale on his Instagram page. You remember seeing it on the Super Nintendo? I know it came out for something. Like I said, maybe the Game Boy or something like that, but I can't be sure. But I know it's available for a console somewhere. Yeah, there's like 2 more 32X games he has for sale on Instagram, but they are like incomplete games. They're like one of them I think is like a demo or whatever, and I'm like, I don't know if I really want those, but like if I want to go for like a complete thing, maybe I will. We'll see. I'm not rushing out to buy those. Those were the ones that were the complete games, so I'm like, I'll take those. So now we're going to the other disc stuff. So at Play Together, the game that pissed me off, so I bought The Adventures in the Magic Kingdom on the NES, Xenophobe for the Lynx, and then I was looking for a third game to get the free thing. And I'm looking around, and I really couldn't find anything that was really catching my eye that wasn't super expensive. And I finally get to this, and I'm like looking in this case, and I'm like, oh, I don't have a lot of games in that franchise. I think I have one. I think I might have one. I think I have the third one. So I'm like, I'll pick that. And I didn't think to look. It was wrapped in plastic and all that, and I didn't think to look at it. I should have looked at the disc, and I would have seen the problem. But the disc is perfect. Anyway. And that is Spyro 2 Ripto's Rage for the original PlayStation. And the thing I wish I asked them to open this up so I could take a look was because while it does have that reflective metal, artwork on the cover, there's absolutely nothing inside. The manual is missing. And this place was pretty good. They had everything listed on, like, one of the reasons why I didn't want to buy a lot of stuff there was a lot of their stuff was just missing manuals, and it would say it on the label with the price. It would say no manual or something. And like everything I wanted to buy had no manual. So I was like, damn it. They did basically no manual for this too, but he did not have it written on the label. So I did not think to ask, which is kind of bullshit. And I would normally take this back and be like, this is some bullshit. Like, you didn't even have the no manual thing here, because when I opened it up when I got home, there's definitely no manual in there. So I guess I got to buy one separately, which is some bullshit. But second Spyro game, 3D platformer, basically a collectathon. So Captain Algebra absolutely loves these games. I have never played any of them in my life. So I figured I'd get that. And then when I was at Game Trade, looking at that import TurboGrafx CD game, or the PC Engine CD game, that's the one everybody loves, part 2. Complete collecting is a dangerous sport. Yeah, just pisses me off that they didn't have it labeled correctly. So I'm looking at those import games at Game Trade, and one is sticking out to me, and I'm like, I don't understand what console this is for. What is this? And then I got a really good look at the cover art, and I'm like, oh, my Polymega plays these things. Maybe I should start collecting for this console. So I'm now collecting for another console. Great. Just what I need. So I'm like, since they plays these versions of these games, maybe I should just buy one and, utilize the fact that my console will play these things now. We're talking about the Neo Geo CD. I'm never going to buy a Neo Geo cartridge like the AES with the big ass. Game Trade had, I am not exaggerating, probably 20 complete in box Neo Geo AES games, like the ones with the artwork on the covers, not the ones that come in the cardboard boxes. And it was right above where I was looking at the Sega CD games. And I saw the prices for each one of them. The only one that was cheap was Samurai Showdown 2, and they wanted like $70 for that. Everything else was $200 plus. I was looking at it, I'm like, who can collect for this damn thing? Well, then I forgot the reason they came out with the Neo Geo CD was to lower the prices so they did not have to keep making those gigantic cartridges and charging people $600 for a cart. So I picked up King of the Fighters 94 for the Neo Geo CD. I absolutely love the art of fighting. King of Fighters, Fatal Fury, Samurai Showdown, all those SNK fighting games. So I figured this would be a great one to try out on my Polymega and see how they run. And if it is okay, because I hear the load times for this console were atrocious. Back in the day, I know there was a video by the Angry Video Game Nerd where he was talking about the console, and like there was like a good 3-minute wait in between rounds of some of the fighting games for the Neo Geo CD. So hopefully it gets fixed on the Polymega. So we'll see how that goes. So now I'm collecting Neo Geo CD stuff. Fantastic. That's what I need. And we went to press start, and I was looking for one more game to add to the stack because I think I had 5 games already in my hand, and I needed a 6th one to get for free. So I'm looking around, and I get to the Dreamcast stuff. I completely skipped over Dreamcast stuff for the first 2 stores we went to because I'm like, I have a complete Dreamcast set. I don't need anything else. Completely forgetting about aftermarket stuff. So I'm like, I receive Dreamcast stuff, and I'll just move along. So we're at this press start place, and there's some Dreamcast aftermarket stuff there. And I'm like, oh, well, there's that. I'm like, what is that? And TJ, who was with us, is very knowledgeable about Sega things. So I was like, is that a good game at all? Have you tried it? Do you know anything about it? And he goes, it's kind of hard to come by, apparently. There's 2 versions of this. There's one that comes in a jewel case, and the other one comes in like a DVD case, like I have a Dreamcast game that came in a DVD case. I can't remember which one it is. I'm not going to get up to go look. But he goes, yeah, it's actually a pretty decent shmup. And he's like I said, it's hard to find. And it was not too expensive. So I picked up Last Hope, which I think has a fantastic cover art. That's what caught my eye. I'm like, what is that? It looks like a horror movie. But yeah, it's Dreamcast side-scrolling, like a vertical or horizontally scrolling shmup. Last Hope. So I had to pick this one up, and he says it's actually not too bad. So I did not feel bad. But then we went to the Pad, which is another place where I was having a hard time. They had a buy two get one free sale also for Black Friday, and I was another place where I was having a hard time trying to find things to buy. I was actually like saying to myself, I'm like, well, I've bought stuff at every store we've gone to today. This is probably the one place where I'm not going to get anything. And usually this is the place that has stuff. This is where the deal of the day was always happening when I would go in the past with Rocket Sauce. First time we went there was like a bunch of copies of the PS5 version of Death Stranding, the director's cut. It's completely sealed. They had like 6 copies of it for like $30 or $25. And Ryan Rocket Sauce called it the deal of the day because he was looking for that specifically, and we got it dirt cheap, so we each bought a copy. Went back there the next time, and they had brand new, like 6 brand new copies of, what was it, Call of Duty. It wasn't Vanguard. It was one of the other ones. Black Ops Cold War. Cold War? I think, yeah, Cold War. And they were like $25. And he was like, you got another deal of the day. Like, do these fall off a truck? Because it was like 6 sealed copies. So I was expecting another deal of the day, and like I wasn't really finding much. But then that's when I started looking at the Dreamcast stuff that they had. And I noticed that they had a ton of aftermarket stuff. And then I remembered the last time I went to the Pad, that was most of the stuff that I bought were these aftermarket Dreamcast games that I really wanted. So I'm like, well, maybe I'll just get some of those. So I ended up picking up, I've talked about this in another stream somewhere, that I have, I don't know how many copies of this on other consoles, but I have to get it because it's one of my favorite games of all time, and that is Flashback. So originally this came out on the Sega Genesis, and it is a side-scrolling cinematic platformer, kind of like Prince of Persia. And you're this character who has lost his memory, and you're trying to find a way to get it back, and also stop an alien invasion where people that can copy, or aliens can like copy themselves or make themselves look human, and you're exposing it. And it's really, really fun. I absolutely love it. I've loved it ever since I rented it from my local video store when I was a kid, when it first got released for the Genesis. And I have a copy of this for the Genesis. I have a copy of this for the 3DO. I have a copy of this for the Switch. That's available for the Sega CD. I almost bought a Sega CD copy of this game at Game Trade, but I put it back to get Tough Man Contest. And there's also one available on the PlayStation 4. And a sequel recently came out for the PS5. So absolutely had to get that. I'm really curious as to how this runs on a Dreamcast, because it runs very, very, very well on the 3DO. That's probably my favorite version of the game. So I'm curious to see how this runs. And then I got the now probably not canon sequel, now that there was an official Flashback 2. But this was the original sequel, but they changed up how the game plays. And that is Fade to Black. And you can even see it says underneath Fade to Black, it says Flashback. This picks up where Flashback left off, but now the game is a third-person 3D action game where you wake up on an alien ship and you're trying to find your way off. And this also was released on the PlayStation 1, and I do believe the Saturn, and I have it for the PS1, and it is one of the clunkiest 3D games you'll ever play in your life. If you think that Bubsy 3D is clunky, you have not played Fade to Black. Apparently this runs a lot better on a PC where it started, but on the PlayStation 1, not really. So I'm kind of curious if this runs better on the Dreamcast. I would hope so. So had to get that. And then you'll see the third game. I got the free game that I got. Actually, I got one of those for free. So when we were at Press Start, one of the games I wanted to pick up, because I was like, I want to play my PlayStation 2 again. And that's why I picked up that cable, so I can hook it up to my 4K television. This caught my eye. You know me and my licensed games, everybody. I got to have them. So I picked up a copy of Aeon Flux, based on the movie with Charlize Theron. Oh, Charlize. Want to touch the hiney. Anyway, this is a 3D platformer based on the movie that came out, I think, in 2004 or 2005, something like that. Based on the old MTV cartoon, which I used to love. The movie doesn't quite capture the feeling of the show, which is kind of a disappointment. But I've always wanted to play this game. Never have. I know I've played the Alias game. I've never played this one. I always get them mixed up. It was either Aeon Flux or Alias, and I can never remember which one it was. So normally I would have just bought this for the Xbox, but my Xbox doesn't work anymore, and neither does my 360. So get it for the PS2. Why not? So this was the game I was hoping to try out with that cable today, but I ended up opening up the console and realizing I had a copy of Star Trek Conquest sitting in there already. I'm like, I'll just try that. You never played the game. I love the movie is like a guilty pleasure of mine. It is dumb as hell, but I have fun watching it, mostly because of how overly melodramatic everything is in the movie. It's really funny. And like Charlize Theron made this right after she won an Oscar. Why is it that whenever somebody wins an Oscar, the next movie they make is like a real cheesy, schlocky POS? Angelina Jolie did it. She did it. For a while, Halle Berry did it. So yeah, looking forward to trying that out. And then at Press Start, one of the games I like stumbled across, did not even know this was a game. I saw it kind of on a shelf and the label was kind of obscuring the title. So I picked it up and I looked at it and I'm looking at the back. I'm like, oh, this is just the type of game I like. And for the Nintendo DS, I'm like, really? It's called Time Ace by Konami. And essentially you're an F-16 who is traveling through time. And you go to space, you go to World War II, you go to like ancient Greece, and it's a behind the plane flight simulator, combat simulator. And I love those types of games. So I absolutely had to get this. And it was dirt freaking cheap too. Had no clue this game existed. Like, it's one of those things. There are so many games available for the DS. You never know which ones are going to be good because there's a lot of shovelware on that thing like the Wii. But like every once in a while, I come across something that just completely blows my mind that they're able to do something like that on the DS. So had to snag that. Put that over here. Next up is an import PSP game I found at Press Start, and me and TJ were like confused about it because it did not ring a bell at all. And I always, one of the rules I always have when I go to a video game convention is I want to walk out of there with a PSP game I never knew existed. It has not happened for the last two conventions. You call them behind the cockpit games. You just like hearing me say cockpit, right? Zing! Anyway, so this did not ring a bell. And I was like, oh, maybe this will be one of those games I buy, the weird PSP game that I always look for at a convention or whatever. So I look it up because it's a PEGI 12 game, so it's like a British game. I'm like, is there a US version of this? And TJ's like, I don't know, I've never heard of it. So I look it up, and it turns out this was only released in England and the UK for the PSP. Everywhere else, it was just released for PC. So it's an exclusive game for the PSP in the UK. So I'm like, okay, I'm buying it. And even TJ's like, can I see it first? So like I hand it over to him, he looks at it, and it's an RPG. It says, take sides between two great powers in a world where forces of nature and technology are colliding, an RPG experience with total freedom of character evolution. A journey into amazing and beautifully rendered fantasy worlds. More than 80 character attributes allow for a high level of customization as you fight your way through 65 creatures and 17 bosses, each with specific strengths and Achilles heels. Constant rewards and active exploration through a vast treasure trove of items to collect. Multiple gameplay choices, nature/technology, magic/physics, melee/ranged, buff/debuff, attack/defense, and real-time tactical combat-based game mechanic, encouraging experimentation and chaining of attacks and abilities. Yeah. And head-to-head multiplayer mode for up to 4 players and 2-player cooperative mode. And that's called Silverfall. So the titties caught my eye first on the shelf. And then seeing the PEGI 12, and I look at TJ and I'm like, PSP is region free, right? And he's like, yeah, it is. So I pick it up, and that was when I looked it up. And it looked pretty rad. I don't have very many RPGs, at least like ones that talk about how the game works like this on the PSP. So it sounded really interesting to me. So I snagged it, and it was not super expensive. I think this was like $20. So absolutely had to get a copy of this. And I think TJ said he's probably going to look for a copy too, if I remember correctly. The first 2 hours would be spent customizing your character. Dude, I can get caught up in that stuff like you would not believe. When I started playing, what's it called? Not only Cyberpunk 2077, but also Baldur's Gate 3. Like just customizing your character. You can customize the length of your dick in Cyberpunk. It's so fucked up. So since my 360 isn't working anymore, which is a bummer since it's the special edition Halo 4 console, I hate you. Anyway, there's a bunch of games that I have for the 360 that I'm now going to have to try to play on the PS3. So the multiplats I'm looking for the PS3 now. And one of them is a game that is not very well liked, but I don't care. I never got caught up in the hype train for this game. So it did not bother me when it was released because I rented it when it first came out and I thought it was pretty fun. So I ended up buying the special collector's edition version of it that came in a box, and I am not kidding. From the top of my head to the middle of my waist, that's how tall it was. When it got discounted about a year later on Amazon, I got it for like $20. And I got it for the 360. Well, now I can't play it. Now that I'm into this franchise again because of that documentary I talked about at the opening of the stream, and that I bought the movies in the franchise on 4K, I'm kind of like into this franchise again, and that's Aliens Colonial Marines. So apparently at some point there was not a convention, but a like E3 or something. There was like a video released of like supposed gameplay of this game, and it was like all new things happening for first-person shooters. It's going to change the way first-person shooters work and do the Aliens franchise proud and all that. And when the game comes out, it's like a generic first-person shooter that happens to have aliens in it. And like, I never watched that video. I never saw anything about it. I just, when it came out, I was like, oh, look, an Aliens game. I want to play that. So I did not get caught up in that hype machine. I thought it was fun just as a first-person shooter, and I love first-person shooters, so I had to snag it. Well, I want to play it now that I've been watching the Alien movies again, and I found this at, what was it, This was at Game Trade, and I found the Walmart edition, which I thought was strange, and it comes with a couple of extra things. It comes with like a Monster energy drink sticker, yay, and a code, which I'm guaranteeing does not work for. It says available. It's available March 19th, 2013. A bug hunt add-on and a team up with friends and take on waves of increasingly difficult enemies in this new game mode cooperative to increase your odds of survival. So it comes with that, and then the manual, obviously. So I snagged it. They had 3 other copies of the game. This is the only one of the Walmart edition, so I grabbed it before anyone else could. So I'm probably going to play through this while I'm on vacation in a couple of weeks. So first-person shooter in the aliens land. That's awesome. I remember I found a shotgun, like a pump-action shotgun at one point when I was playing it, and I got an achievement because it's like Hicks's shotgun from Aliens. I'm like, oh! One of the other game I got when I got the Flashback and Fade to Black for the Dreamcast from the pad, the other game I picked up there is a PS3 game, and me and Rocket Sauce were kind of puzzled by this because he pointed it out first. It was in their case of their expensive stuff, and it was not that expensive. But he's just kind of like, when did that happen? When did they release a collection with all the DLC for the PS3 for that game? I'm like, I don't know. I'm curious about it too because I did not even know there was DLC for this specific game. So this comes with it built into the disc already. Cool. And this is also a game that I've been wanting to play, but I have it for the 360, and I can't play anything on my 360 right now. So that is Castlevania Lords of Shadow, the collection that includes the Reverie and Resurrection DLC built into it. And it also has a demo for Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2. And a version of Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate HD. Mirror of Fate is a 3DS game. Right here. So it has a version of the game on here, which is bizarre. But it's one of the 3D Castlevania games, and I rented this back in the day, and I played it for maybe like a day. It's kind of like playing a God of War game, and it's actually a lot of fun. So when me and like Rocket Sauce are kind of going back and forth, like, should I get it? Should I not get it? And then Rocket Sauce ended up just going for NES games. And I was just like, well, if you're not going to get it, I'll get it. So this was my third game, and absolutely had to have that. So hail to the yeah. This I bought pre-game hunting. I bought this from Pixel Heart, which is a British game company, and I I saw something on Facebook for it. It popped up while I was at work. And it's like, we have a pre-Black Friday sale going on. See what we got going on. And I was like, okay, I'll just go over there and take a look and see what's up. Because I bought stuff from them previously, and it's good quality stuff. And I see a Nintendo 3DS game that I did not know existed. I think they made this one, or that's a port of something. They put it on the 3DS. That is Andro Dunos 2, which is a horizontally scrolling shmup. And this was dirt cheap. This was like $15. So I'm like, for $15, I'll pick up a new 3DS game. I have not bought a 3DS game in I don't know how long. I'm looking at what I have right here, and I do not have a whole lot. So I was like, a new game, and it's a shmup on top of it. Probably, it looks rad as hell in the 3D on the 3DS. So snagged that. What are the features? Flexible and efficient gameplay. Recover power-ups by killing enemies. Music composed by Alistair Brimble. I know that name. Who did Alien Breed, Body Blows, Project X, Colonization, Driver. I know Alistair Brimble. He worked for a British game company. It might have been Psygnosis or something. I think he did a lot of music for the Genesis and all that. But anyway, had to snag that. And another game that I picked up through Amazon. I think it was John Hancock did a video about this being delisted on the Switch. I think it's getting delisted everywhere. Like the games in this collection are getting delisted. So I figured I'd get it. Why the hell not? It was dirt cheap. It was like $15. And it's the Sega Genesis Classics. This has like 50 Genesis games built into it and like ones you can unlock too, kind of like the way the Sonic Genesis game collection worked on the PS3. So this has, oh God, I can't even read the damn names. They're so tiny, but it's got Streets of Rage, Gunstar Heroes, the Golden Axe games, Golden Axe, Wonder Boy. Yeah, I can't even read them. They're so small. Vector Man, I think I saw. But all of these are the games up here. Look at that font. That is so tiny. Challenge your friends with local and online multiplayer, retro classics, modern convenience, rewind, save states, graphic filters, and more. And you can get trophies, challenges, and mirror modes. Be cool as hell to get trophies for beating Streets of Rage and stuff like that. So snag that. He was saying that the price of that might go up because of the delisting on the digital sites. So I was like, why not? This I pre-ordered, and it showed up last week, and I plugged it in immediately. I put this in, installed it on my PS5, and immediately played it. I beat one of the games in this collection already. Couldn't get anywhere in the other games because their difficulties ramped up like you would not believe. And that is the Marvel vs. Capcom Fighting Collection Arcade Classics. So this has X-Men, Children of the Atom, the Punisher arcade game, which is not a one-on-one fighting game. It's a beat-em-up. Marvel Superheroes, X-Men vs. Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. And I played the Punisher. I played the Punisher on the Genesis with Captain Algebra last summer, and we beat it. We got a double beat with that. So played through the Punisher back to front, got all the trophies for that game specifically that you can in this, and then played every game in here that is a one-on-one fighting game, and I could not get anywhere except Marvel vs. Capcom 2. All the other ones, like, I just could not beat the first person. Like, I was really good at playing X-Men Children of the Atom on my Saturn. And I could not get past was it Spiral? Or no, Omega. What's his name? Omega Red. Omega Red, who was the first person I fought, and I could not get past him no matter who I chose to fight with. So really, really hard. I need to turn the difficulty down a little bit. But super cool. Have all of the Marvel and Capcom games on this collection. And at the same time I bought the Genesis Classics, I ordered this because Limited Run has a storefront on Amazon now. So whenever they have overstock that did not sell, or like just leftovers in general, they put them up for sale on their storefront on Amazon, and I picked up a copy of High on Life. This is the game of the year, I guess, at whatever year it came out, from Squatch Games. This is a first-person shooter that's kind of like a comedy at the same time, because like it looks like you have a gun with a face on it in one of the pictures. I love my first-person shooters. If you look here, the gun you're holding, it has like a face that's facing you with two giant beady eyes, which I thought looked really, really funny. So apparently this got really good reviews, so I wanted to pick it up, and I got it for, I think it was like 40 something dollars. So yeah, even on the front you can see you've got that gun with the face on it. So yeah, I love first person shooters. Had to get it. And then a bunch of limited run stuff that I had actually ordered, a year ago, most likely, showed up finally. And those are, which are all these? No. Okay. So the two that showed up, was it just these two? I want to say there was more. Hang on one second. Let me double check something. Because I might be missing a game. My account. There we go. Oh, okay. So only two of them shipped. The other two, I think, are in process of coming. Okay, that was what it was. Okay, so I got the Lollipop Chainsaw Repop remaster of Lollipop Chainsaw, and this is another game that I have on the 360 that I wanted to be playing, but I can't because my 360 crapped out on me. And yeah, it's a 3D beat 'em up where you're playing as a cheerleader during a zombie apocalypse, and you use a chainsaw that like shoots little hearts out of it when you kill things, and you have the severed head of your zombie boyfriend hanging on your hip, and he talks shit to you the whole time. The guns are aliens that talk to you. The knife is my favorite. It's actually a pretty fun game. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's why I picked it up. I love my first-person shooters, so I had to get it. But yeah, I've been wanting to play this forever, but 360 keeps crapping out. It was the game that I was playing when my 360, the black one that I had, the 360 Pro or whatever it was. I can't remember what it was, like the designation for it was. What it started to crap out when I first got the Red Ring of Death was me playing this on the 360. So that finally showed up, and I already installed it on my my PS5, and I also got the Tomba Special Edition remaster, and I think this is it both games or is it just one game? I can't remember. I think it's just the first game, but it's a remaster of the original Tomba, which is a 3D platformer. No, it's a side-scrolling platformer, I thought. It's a PS1 game. I've never played it, but I always wanted to. And then Scott from Sega Blocks talks about this as being his favorite game of all time. And I've always like him talking about it so much, made me like my interest peak. And last year when we went game hunting in Wisconsin for Black Friday, they had a copy of this at Press Start, and Captain Algebra was definitely trying to enable me to buy it. I saw it in the case, and it was expensive, but not super expensive. It was like 80 or what I want to say, or maybe 70. And I was like, "Oh, that's a thought." And then he kept on like pestering me, "You gonna buy that Tomba? You gonna buy that Tomba?" And I'd walk around another area, he'd walk up behind me, "You gonna buy that Tomba?" So this is the next best thing. So I can finally play it to see if I actually want to invest in Tomba 1 and 2 on the PS1. So, hell yeah. And then I do believe it was Target had a buy two, get one free sale going on. So I bought, which ones? I think it was these two. Yeah. Oh no, it was just a sale. They were discounted. It wasn't a buy two, get one. It was everything was discounted. They were like a certain percentage off. And I picked up, because I love my licensed games, and I have the other two games that are based on the spin-off TV show of this, is the Karate Kid Street Rumble. So I have, this is by Game Mill, who I keep on saying sounds like the type of company that would just crank out random games like LJN would back in the day. And they do. There's a bunch, they do nothing but license stuff. They released that Kong game that everyone gave shit to that plays like absolute ass. But I have their two Cobra Kai games, which are side-scrolling beat-em-ups that are pretty fun, surprisingly. This is more like a retro beat-em-up. It looks, to me, it looks like the Scott Pilgrim beat-em-up that came out when the movie came out. And it's like all pixel graphics and stuff like that. It basically goes through all three of the Karate Kid movies. So there's that. So it was cheap. I got this for like $25 or something. So why not? It was 20 or 25, something like that. And then I also picked up Immortals of Avernus? Of Avium. Immortals of Avium. And this is a first person. It's reminds me. So, like I say, I love my first person shooters and stuff, especially when there's a twist. One of the reasons I liked Hexen and Heretic so much back in the day from id was it was a first person shooter like Doom, but it was using magic instead of guns. So you've got your hands in front of you and you can shoot spells out and stuff, or you get like magical items that can shoot spells. That's what this is. It's a first person shooter, but uses magic. And it's like you see your hands out in front of you and everything. So had to get that. It just sounded freaking rad as hell. And I got that for like $20-some. Okay, so there's that. And then I pre-ordered this because of what it is. And I already installed this on my PS5 because I'm going to play this when I'm on vacation in a couple of weeks. That is Lego Horizon Adventures. I absolutely love Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon 2 Forbidden West. They are two of my favorite games of all time. And the Lego version of it is essentially, from what I understand, a retelling of the first game, just kind of done cutesy, like the Lego style, but it doesn't play like your standard Lego game where like the whole point of those games is to like just destroy everything in the environment, collect all the little coins, little Lego coins that drop out of everything, and like find the little hidden golden bit or whatever it is to, do the completionist type of collecting thing. Here, that's not really the point. It's actually like an actual adventure, 3D adventure game that just happens to be with everything Lego-y. So I thought that was kind of cool that they decided to change up their standard formula for the game because the game itself is super serious, the real game. So apparently it's just retelling the game just with kind of cutesy graphics and stuff. So had to snag that, especially like I said when I heard that they were going to change up their formula. So pre-ordered that and that showed up. Got these for Black Friday. This one I snagged from Amazon, I think. Oh, okay. So the reason I got Immortals and the Karate Kid was not only were they doing a sale, but I spent the gift card I got for my birthday that my friends gave me at the beginning of November on these. That was what that was. I know there's something special about those. This one I got a discount code for somehow. I had a discount something, and I used it on this. And that is Warhammer 40K Space Marine 2. This, I do believe, is another first-person shooter. I think Space Marine, the first Space Marine was a first-person shooter, but it's like 4K or Warhammer 4K first-person shooter where you're in that giant armor, taking out, I don't know what they are, orcs and stuff. I have so many Warhammer games in my collection, and I have not played many of them, or any of them. Some of them, I don't know. But this one's been talked about being pretty rad around YouTube and everything, so I wanted to snag it when I saw that. When I had the discount. I can't remember what the discount was now. Damn it. I can't even remember what it was. Shit. But this is a pretty new game, and it's still going for full price, so I had to get a discount. This one pissed me off to no end. So this is why I don't buy stuff from GameStop. So I checked them out to see what they had going on because I wanted to, like I said at the beginning, I wanted to get a new controller for my PS5 because the one that I've been using was starting to get drift. So I bought this. And the reason I went to the website initially was because I was looking at this on Amazon. This is a limited run released game. They are charging like $45, $50 for it on Amazon, but I heard that GameStop was only selling it for like $30. So I was like, oh, I'll go over there and maybe I'll see if I can get a controller for a discount. It turns out they did. So I bought this new, and it shows up like this. It didn't get shipped from a warehouse. It got shipped from one of their stores, and this is like the display version of their game. So it's new, but it's never been played. It's just been opened. I hate this garbage. I don't know why they are still doing this and think that people are okay with it. When I buy something new, it had better be wrapped in cellophane. I'm still considering sending this back and getting my money back and filing a complaint that I want a brand new one. I haven't ripped the stickers off of this one yet because, like I said, I'm still considering sending it back. But this is a collection of like a bunch of the 8 and 16-bit Jurassic Park games that came out in the 90s. So it has Jurassic Park for the Game Boy, Jurassic Park for the NES, Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo, Jurassic Park for the Genesis, Jurassic Park the Rampage Edition for the Genesis, Jurassic Park 2 The Chaos Continues for the Game Boy, and Jurassic Park 2 The Chaos Continues for the Super Nintendo. So I don't have a lot of the games that are listed there. I have the two Genesis games. I have Jurassic Park for the Super Nintendo, and I do believe that that is it. And I have Jurassic Park 2. No. I have Jurassic Park Genesis. I have Jurassic Park Super Nintendo. I have Jurassic Park Rampage Edition for the Genesis. And I have Jurassic Park 2 for the Super Nintendo, but I don't have the portable games or the NES game. So I wanted to get this because some of those are pretty expensive. And I can get achievements when I play through them. So wanted to get this, but it came in a really bad state. So F you, GameStop. This is why I don't shop at your damn stores anymore. Eat my ass. This one, I was in Peter's stream on Monday, about like a week ago, and we're talking about like Black Friday sales and stuff, like stuff that everybody's gotten. And J Chip, I think it was J Chip, either J Chip or Bargain Bin Hobo, said that this game was on sale at Walmart for $30. And it just recently came out and it was still $70 everywhere. And I was not willing to pay $70 for this game at all. It's another remake, like remaster. So I was like, I'm not paying $70 for it, but for $30, I'll definitely look into it. So I go to Walmart's website and it is sold out everywhere. You couldn't get it shipped. You couldn't find it at any of the stores near me. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm screwed. I'm never getting this for $30. But then like it hit me. I was like, doesn't Target do price matching? So the next day I go to Target and the Target by me, and they have like 6 or 7 copies of this game sitting on their shelf, and they're still charging $70 for it. So I walk up to the guy at the counter, and I'm like, you guys do price matching, right? And he goes, yeah, we price match Amazon and Walmart. I'm like, well, I have the Walmart price that I want you to price match. He's like, oh, okay, fine, we'll do it. So I bring it up to he brings it up to the register. I show him my phone, and he looks at it, and he goes like, you serious? Like a $70 game that's $40 off kind of thing? He's like, really? And I go, I'm not pulling your leg, dude. I'm like, you can go back and go forward and all that kind of stuff and see that it's the real deal. And he's like, okay. And he goes, I might want to buy one of these myself. He was like completely shocked that it was already $40 off. So I got it at Target, and that's the Silent Hill 2 remake. I hear this is supposed to be absolutely fantastic. I hear this is also the best game in the series, but I've never played through it. I got pretty decently far into the PlayStation 2 version, but I never finished it off. Like I got to the point where Red Pyramid, you first see him, which is, I want to say maybe like an hour or two into the game. But I figured this would be the way to play through it. And getting it for $40 off, you bet your ass. So had to get that. And then the last game I'm going to talk about in this long-ass freaking stream, I warned everybody, is really kind of cool. So I pre-ordered this on this website, and I was wondering if I made a complete mistake by doing it because I've never heard of this company before. I saw John Riggs talking about this video game on one of his videos, and I was like, it's a license thing, and the licenses that this game is made of, there's 2 of them, is absolutely fantastic. I love these 2 franchises, so I definitely wanted to get it. But at the time that I ordered this, there was no standalone version of the game available just yet. Now you can get it on Amazon, no problem, like the standalone game for like $30. I ended up ordering this like $100 collector's edition. Not that I'm sad about it or anything. I think it's really rad. And that is this Retro Realms double feature of Halloween and Ash versus Evil Dead. So these are hack and slash platformers by Way Forward, of all companies. Way Forward developed both of these. And from the whole idea behind this Retro Realms thing is they want to just keep on getting licenses for other horror franchises that they can turn into arcade-style platformers like these 2 games in here. And they're just going to keep adding to it because there's like a hub world where you're in an old arcade, and there's 2 arcade cabinets in there now, and they say there's room for more that they're going to add in possibly later. And one is the Halloween game, and one is the Ash versus Evil Dead. There's also a trophy room where you can unlock costumes and props from the game, from the movies and stuff, and you can look at them virtually and stuff like that. So there's an interview with people on this too. that made the game, and they're talking about like possibly getting even more franchises like in the mix, which I think is great. So the game, I played the Halloween on this, and it is a very fun side-scrolling hack and slash like platformer where initially you can only play as Michael Myers, and there's like a reason for why you're playing as Michael Myers because this like evil entity, which is I think going to be the through line through all these other games that bring them all together like this. This evil entity has like said, "Oh yeah, I got a task for you. Go and kill all these people for me, will you?" And yeah, you're playing through the hospital that you escaped from at the beginning of the first movie for the first stage, and you can actually go into this like dark realm, which is kind of like slightly different than the standard world, where some of the platforms are different, and it's like usually if you get stuck, that's how you get out of that situation by switching to the dark realm, and you can traverse that area and then go back to the normal world, and you're fine. A lot of collectibles to find and all that. It's a lot of fun, but you also got the ability to play as Laurie Strode with a downloadable code or a code that this came with to play it from her point of view, which that sounds pretty rad too. And then there's Evil Dead or Ash versus Evil Dead, where the only person you can play through normally is Ash, but you get the ability to play through. I cannot remember what her name is. Kelly Maxwell, like who is I want to say his sidekick in the TV show Ash versus Evil Dead, which is rad. So super thrilled that I got this, and I was like I said, I was playing it. It is super fun. It also came with this pack of cards, which I don't know if I want to open or not. It says Series 1, so I'm assuming each of these releases is going to have something like this. And all of it came in this giant freaking box that looks like an old arcade cabinet with Halloween branding all across it. So I figured I would do an unboxing because I have not even opened this up yet. When I opened up the shipping box, the game itself was loose. It was not inside here, so I did not even open this to get the game out. So let's do it. Let's do it. Come on. Yeah. Let's see. My scissors are in the other room, so this is some bullshit. There we go. There we go. Okay. Y'all ready for this? Sorry, like I said, I have not even looked inside here yet. This is, how are you supposed to open this? It's like jammed. There we go. I didn't want to rip it. Okay. Here we go. Okay, for starters, you get a little pin of Michael Myers. I'm not taking it out of that packaging. You also get a steel book? A steel book of Halloween. It's not the movie or anything. I think you're supposed to put the game in here if you want. But I'm not going to open that up. Yeah, it's just for the games. Yep. I'm not opening that. It comes with a code. Thank you for purchasing Retro Realms Halloween Collector's Edition. Please follow the instructions below and use the unique code to download your copy of the Retro Realms digital soundtrack. So I can get the soundtrack for free. You ain't seeing that shit, guys. The Retro Realms instruction manual, so I can put this inside the video game case. Let's see what that looks like. So yeah, like Michael Myers has like fighting game mechanics for moves that you can unlock. So there's like a progression tree where you spend points that you accumulate to buy new moves and stuff like that. And I already bought a few, and there's different weapons and stuff you can use. And the power-ups. Like I said, it was really, really fun. Oh, it even has like the setup or the layout for the controls for the Switch and the Xbox. But there's even more behind this. There's something here. What is this? This is heavy. Oh, this came with a bunch of coins. don't think you can take these out. Oh, no, you can. Retro Realms coins. One of them has Michael Myers on it. And the other one has Laurie Strode, which is cool. And it comes in like this display case that is like sealed magnetically. That's kind of cool. I'll put that back. Okay, and then behind the case here is some artwork, which is pretty cool. It's basically a shot of Michael Myers standing in front of a bunch of arcade cabinets, and you can only see there's a Halloween and an Army of Darkness, or not Army of Darkness, the Ash vs. Evil Dead one. And there's like vague titles on the other ones because they have not gotten licenses for other games just yet, but hopefully this sells well enough that they can. But the big thing that this came with, which I thought was funny, why they're trying to do the Freddy Krueger thing to this character, I don't know. But you remember, like, in the 80s, if you're alive in the 80s, the late 80s, early 90s, how, like, Freddy Krueger was everywhere. There were dolls, record albums, stupid shit like that. Like, pictures of Freddy, like, giving you positive affirmations and shit. Well, they made a little plushy Michael Myers doll. So, yay. He even has a little plush knife. Oh, boy. That's special. So, yeah, that's a thing. So, that is it for this. Put that back. Pickups stream. This is one of the longest ones I've done in a while, but I went absolutely nuts, like I said, with the Black Friday sales and shopping yesterday. Like, I went nuts. I even bought some more stuff today. Bought a bunch of stuff on Amazon that was on sale for the Black Friday sale, and got one thing from oh god, where was that? I just bought it too. Hang on one sec, let me take a look. Oh, Best Buy. Yes. So one of the games I was talking about in the car while we were driving around yesterday when in Wisconsin was this one specific Switch game that I've been looking for forever, but it never gets discounted until now. And Rocket Sauce had brought up that he saw it for a cheap price at Best Buy. So I went on Best Buy's website today and bought it, and also bought a bunch of discounted stuff on Amazon. So thanks everybody for coming and hanging out with me. I will be back on Thursday, hopefully, if work does not keep me for very long. I'll be back on Thursday with another collection video, probably the last one. And Peter was talking about it, the last collection video that I did, that maybe we should do one about my Tron stuff, because I have like a little Tron shrine in my living room. So I'll do one based on all the Tron memorabilia that I have, Tron and Tron Legacy and all that kind of stuff that I have. So come back if you're interested in that on Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Central. And then that'll probably be the last collection stream that I do until I can find an editing program so I can start making edited content again. Yay. So I'll talk to you all later. Thanks for coming and hanging out with me. We got Manboy Cave, Waves and Games, Game Room, Chum Nasty, Retro Coop. Yep. So thanks, everybody. I really appreciate each and every one of you coming to hang out with me. I will talk to you all later. Have a good night. Have the rest of whatever weekend you have left. Hope it's enjoyable, and stay safe out there. Chris from Midlife Crisis Media out.